Okay, and we are live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Crypto Hour. Today, Friday, the 9th of May, and this is the I would say the eve of the most important day in the calendar year. You know why? What happens on the 10th of May? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on the 10th of
It's
May.
your birthday, Luca.
Drum roll, drum roll. Yannick Sinner plays in the Italian Open. So comes back and okay. Oh, never mind. Not about crypto. All right. Just one question. The last session of the crypto hour was 2 weeks ago. I want to see who paid attention. What did I tell you 2 weeks ago? What were we expecting? What was the event that we were expecting? And what was going likely to happen at Bitcoin to the Bitcoin price? Anybody remembers that? No, nobody remembers, guys. I just wonder, am I talking? Do you listen or do you just like turn up, to show your face? All right. Let me go and show you just in 1 minute. So if we're looking at obviously what happens in the past couple of days is quite nice, in the crypto world. So we've gone from, just the low 90s to today we are 103,600. So if we go back as always, like we zoom out, you remember what I was showing you? I was showing you this chart and kind of like with kind of demand at the top and supply at the bottom. So 2 weeks ago, so there's like we were here, when was that? Friday, the 25th of April. Okay, we were just here. And I told you this supply area, this red band, was what I kept Bitcoin price within this range since beginning of March. Okay, so for over 2 months. And so all the time the expectations are the price will bounce between supply and demand here. And I say as soon as this is broken, like it did on the 22nd of April, the expectations are there was like a mini demand zone here on the smaller time frames that price was likely to revisit, which it did on the Thursday. And then what did I say? I said there is nothing here on the charts. This is the previous all-time high of Bitcoin in January. There is nothing here to in the way of Bitcoin creating a new all-time high. Okay, so that was the last fresh supply area that we had to worry about. That contained price within that range. After that, as you can see, price hovered, and a few times, as you can see here, once, twice, three times, it kind of revisited the top of that range. And then, a couple of days ago, it started booming, and here we are. I said nothing in here, as you can see, nothing in here provided any resistance on the way, and I don't believe that there is any here. The only resistance that we might find, it's here on the above the 106,000, which was where price couldn't sustain that range. But if so it's nothing too powerful in a way waiting there for us to stop price breaking through and creating a new all-time high. Now we're not saying where that might end up and if this is the move or not. But the interesting thing to note is when we have a look at this, you can see these four blue totals, total 2, total 3, and others. Now the others is the whole crypto market except the top 10. And as you can see, for the first time in a while, it is now growing faster than the rest of the market. Like today, the total market cap is growing by 1.25%, but the smaller cryptos, what I would call them, are growing by 3.2. Okay. And the one thing where it's starting to show, you can see here in the Bitcoin dominance, so what percentage of the total market cap is represented by Bitcoin, is actually started slowly declining. That is this chart here. Okay, so this is the Bitcoin dominance chart. So it shows you can see on the right-hand side, what percentage of the total market cap is represented by Bitcoin. So again, we are within this this supply zone, which we went to all the way up. We've broken actually the supply zone to the top, and it will now starting readjusting, and we'll see what happens. If this is what some people expect, so it is the bull market starting to materialize, then we'll see this percentage then break to the downside to below 60%. At the moment, we're still at about 60, almost 64%. But going down, it means simply, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going down. It's simply that the altcoins are growing faster than Bitcoin. So it might be that both are growing, but one is growing faster than the other. At the moment, what we're seeing since December, Bitcoin has grown faster than the rest of the market. So this could be the reversal of that, simply because what are the reasons that for that to happen is that there is, new confidence. I would say the Bitcoin is seen more like a defensive bet within crypto, the same way the gold maybe is for the normal, let's say, more general investing. Bitcoin is more like defensive for the crypto market. So when people are fearful, they withdraw into Bitcoin, and when they are more excited about the prospect, are looking then to move money into coins that can grow a lot faster and then give them better returns. So we might be right at the beginning of that. I say only the last couple of days we've seen then Bitcoin has grown a lot, but the altcoins have grown a lot more than that. So if you look at yesterday, for example, most altcoins posted a double-digit return on the one day, so above 10%. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden they are fantastic investments, because some of them lost 50, 60, 70% from April alone. So they will need quite a few of those 10% days to catch up to the level they were before, even a few months ago. But we're starting to see. So this is the chart of the others. It means all the other coins apart from the top 10. So as you can see, this is a daily chart. If I put actually weekly, maybe it's a little bit clearer. So we're still in this long-term upswing in a way. So we have grown from June 2023 until March 2024, when there was a retracement till August. Again, create a new high in December. Now, the next retracement, if this carries on, the next swing will be this, which is higher than the previous one. So continues in the same range. So if this is confirmed, and it looks like it will be, as long as this week closes around above this high point here, 253 billion. So if it does, this will be confirmed as a swing, and then the expectation is to make a new high. It will be higher than this 450. So just look at this already. That means that from where we are now, will be at least a 70% increase. And probably, as you can see, we're not that far from the all-time high from 2021. So probably if this confirms as the next leg of this move, then we might be looking at the leg that creates a new all-time high. So that would be anything. So that would be above 180%. So we're talking about 150. Sorry, that from the low, from where we are now, that would be. I'm telling you the wrong things. That would be 86% from here. Okay. But if we go if you get a new high, so that would be a little bit above that. So probably about, I would say, double. We might be looking over over the next few weeks at a doubling of the altcoin market cap from where we are right now. So, possibly a good time. Now, what important events we observed over the past week or so? So this week we had the interest rate decision in the US, which was kept much to President Trump's disappointment, was kept at the same level, so it wasn't decreased, kept at 4.5%. And also yesterday we had the decision from the UK, which actually started lowering the interest rate to 4.25%, bringing it to the lowest level of the past 2 years. I mean, the UK is still one of the highest interest rates. You can see, so this hasn't been updated actually. No, maybe because I haven't refreshed the page. So you can see the UK is still the second highest interest rate of the largest nations with a free economy. But it has started ticking down now. What else? Important decision. So the other thing that was announced yesterday, kind of like a sort of trade deal within the UK and the US, which wasn't really a trade deal. It was just an announcement more about an agreement about tariffs. But because a proper trade deal would have to be approved by Congress, which President Trump doesn't like, because he like taking all the decision. Those are the main news of this week. Last week, I said we went here last week, so let's have a look. So again, the interest rate in Japan was kept at the same level, and the non-farm employment came out a little bit lower than before, but higher than what the expectations were. So nothing dramatic there. And going forward next week, you got inflation figures for the US, but the same for Australia. And so we have basically a consumer price inflation and producer price inflation. So those are the more important announcements for the trading week in the US. And also we have usual GDP announced for the UK, but it's not such a biggie. Okay, so let's have a look also. So you can see, we look at the ETFs for going back to Bitcoin and the flows, the flow of money into the ETFs, since we last spoke. As you can see here, from the end of April, we're starting to see then inflows accumulating, to the tune of quite a few billion within the last couple of weeks. And we are now at a total of 41 billion in total, 38 billion since the launch of the ETFs. You can see here that we're mostly green over the past couple of weeks. This is the situation, as you can see. The Grayscale fund, which was the largest one when the ETFs launched, is now the third one. BlackRock is the biggest one, and Fidelity is the second one, and then all the others come after. But it's important because the Grayscale one is the one that has seen most of the outflows. So where a lot of the selling pressure was coming from Bitcoin. So you can see here, look at for example, the BlackRock is pretty much positive all the way around, where the Grayscale is mostly red. Okay, so this is where a lot of the selling pressure was coming from. So as this becomes smaller, the also selling pressure becomes smaller. And if we go and have a look at the Ethereum one, obviously the Ethereum one is much smaller. Funny enough, and this is kind of a completely counterintuitive. So we had an influx of money into the Ethereum ETFs, which still stands though like a fraction of what Bitcoin has accumulated, only about $2.5 billion over since the launch of the ETF. But now at least we turned green, as we were red for a long time. But strangely enough, look at this. Over the past 3 days, we have 3 days of negative, so outflows in Ethereum. But what has the Ethereum price done? Anybody follow the prices yesterday? Today? So today we are at the moment 8% growth. So these are the last 3 days. Okay. So it went from 1008 to almost like 2004 in 2 days, and even with outflows, that means that a lot of these buying pressure is not coming from institutional investors, but is coming from the general, I would say, general public. Also, the general public includes, big companies as well that are starting to buy Ethereum for their, for their balance sheet. Ethereum and Bitcoin for the balance sheet. But a lot of this will be coming from individual investors, which is a positive move. As you can see, Ethereum compared to Bitcoin, which is standing at all-time high, it's far away from not only from the 2021 highs, but even from the 2024 highs, which was about $4,000. So we are now 2,400. There's a long way to go until we get to 4,000. And there's a long way to go for a lot of coins. We, as friends of Cardano, for example, again, big growth in Cardano over the past couple of days, going from 67 to 80. So, but we're still talking about a long way before we get back to over $3. So what's in store for the crypto market in general? And Bitcoin is the one that's easier to, in a way, to evaluate at the moment, but we can also have a look at the total crypto market. Okay, so this is the total crypto market cap, which peaked in December of 2024. Okay, so this is the long-term look. So this was the previous bull market in 2021, the move of the previous bull market, and this is where we are right now. So that kind of like explosive move, although we have seen quite a strong growth since the launch of the ETFs. We haven't quite had anything similar to this yet, but we might be just starting to look at it now from April. So now it's not we shouldn't be expecting the same sort of move, because now it's a much more mature asset class. So in this case, in 2021, we went over 700% in total, or 765%. But so we couldn't kind of like expect the same kind of move from where we are now. We could maybe expect it, from the bottom, and that will take the crypto market to a new level. But I don't even expect that, to be honest with you. What I do expect is to see another strong move that we haven't seen yet, and more like something like this. So if we have as a measured move from where we went last time. So this is completely on the cards. Okay, so the previous, remember in 2021, the previous high was about 3 trillion. So 4.5 trillion is very easy target to expect. Possibly, very possibly. Here we talked about going between 760 million to 3 trillion. So like a 4-time increase in total market value of crypto. Yeah, if we go from 3 trillion, what could be the expectation for the total market cap this time? Last time it was 4-time. I will say again that a doubling of the market from the previous cycle again, it's not a crazy expectation. So that would take us to about 6 trillion. And from where we are now, it means that pretty much another almost like doubling 85% growth from where we are now simply to get to that level. And I think that's completely on the cards. And if we're talking about 85% for the whole market, it means that within then there will be coins that will make, I don't know, 10%, a coin that will make 1,000%. So, but generally speaking, it's good to see where the market is heading. And if I remove all the drawings to make it a little bit easier. So these are the moves that we are seeing during this cycle. Okay. So this is the cycle that we're in right now, and we're still part of this. It hasn't been invalidated. So this is still going. Okay, so at the moment we should see this move looks like a correction. Okay, and funny enough, look at where it has corrected to. It has corrected to a level of demand here. That then it's bouncing from, and now since breaking this high, it's then stopping its track, this mini downtrend that we had, so which is now dead and buried, and it's started a new leg. So the new leg is expected to then create a new high here. Don't know how high and how many retracements we'll get along the way, but this will feel. I've got the kind of feeling that we're going to see quite a lot of these. We had 37% retracement here. Again, another almost like 40% here. So these are just, it's quite normal in crypto to see 35, 40% retracement. And again, this is the total market cap. It's not, and that means that in doing this retracement, Bitcoin might do, half of that, and the other altcoins will do a lot more. So if Bitcoin drops 20%, we find out that many altcoins will drop 50, 60, 70%. So nothing that's out of expectations. What does mean with Bitcoin? We talked about several times. So just looking at 2025, this was the last move. Okay, let's project it over the current move. And that will take us to, we talked about this level many times, which is around 135,000, okay? Which it also coincides with the kind of like with the Fibonacci move. If you're a fan of mathematics, I know a lot of people look at these numbers look at these numbers in trading, but also the golden ratio is 1.6. That goes up quite a lot. So I need to make this a little bit smaller. So the golden ratio would be at around above 190,000. So, take your pick. It's just like a bit of bit of a guess right now. But my expectations at the beginning of this, I always thought that during this cycle, Bitcoin will get to the 200,000. So it's how long it will take, when it will get there, got absolutely no idea. But the expectations are still there. And for me, as I said to you, I mean, Bitcoin has already done over 50% over the previous all-time high. So then project that to the altcoins, and that will give you. So we still haven't done a new all-time high in the altcoin, but that was about 500 billion. Do a 50% on top of that, that will take you to 750, which will be 3 times where we are now. Okay, so just to get to where Bitcoin is pretty much today, the altcoins will need to do a 300%. Okay, what time is it? It's 9:30. In terms of news, you would say what has caused. Do you know, anybody knows what has caused this? And to be honest with you, it's a guess. So your guess could be as good as mine. Anybody? So how comes all of a sudden crypto has boomed in price? Oh, look what's happened. So basically, it's like the belief is gone back into the market. So especially this has been fueled by it, and it's funny to see, but the market went down at quite a knock. But all this buying pressure here is being fueled by individual investors. Because when you look at the numbers, big institutional investors have been net sellers of stocks over the past couple of months. So that means that now the increase in price has come from traditionally individual investors that now believe that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. So and I personally believe a lot of it comes from, especially in these past couple of days, that's just with the rumors that there might be a trade deal along quite shortly between the US and China. Okay, so generally speaking, I think the panic at the moment has slowed down, and that's what has fueled some of um, the going up in prices of what are seen as risk assets. Okay, so some of the risk assets have gone up in pricing, and crypto is seen as a risk asset. It does well during good time, does badly during bad time. So as the panic subsides, then money gets back into the crypto market, and especially with when we look at Bitcoin, it's important to see as well that let me just put it on this chart so you can see. Mhm, mhm. So it's interesting to see how Bitcoin, although it's still got a little bit of correlation to the market price, the stock market price. As you can see, as it seems to have decoupled a lot from stock prices. So it looks like Bitcoin is adapting a little bit of more of becoming more of a commodity than something that can be seen in the same place as stock market returns. So the effect that Bitcoin did better than shares during kind of like a decline in price. You can see here. You can see here the decline in price of Bitcoin. Was a lot less pronounced. You can see at the angle of this compared to this. When you compare them, can you see that Bitcoin actually fared much better during the panic than the stocks and shares did? Okay, so for me, this is due to there has been a slight decoupling, one, and two is being the continuous accumulation by whales of Bitcoins, to the point now we are coming to a sort of like market shock, because there are so few Bitcoins available on the market. There's been kind of at the lowest possible levels, and as especially the ETFs now are spot ETFs, and they need to buy physical Bitcoins on the market with new funds coming in. This can only translate into buying pressure on Bitcoin that then has pushed them a lot higher. So it was interesting to see how Bitcoin did a lot better than stocks and shares, where historically has been the opposite. Okay, so Bitcoin has declined much faster than stocks and shares, and then it has recovered faster during the good times. But in this case, it does. There are two different scenarios where it's done better during the bad times, and it's done much better during the good times, because you can see here 37% against 18%. We've done twice as well as the S&P 500 during the past month or so, during the recovery phase, and also here during the drop, dropping about 3% against 12% to a lower low. So yeah, quite interesting to see as kind of like good expectations come back into the market. They are translating quite well now into crypto. And by the way, look at what Ethereum is doing right now. By the way, we are 12% up on the day. Okay, good days ahead, guys. All right, let me take a few questions. So anybody want to ask anything at all about generally crypto market, about anything specific, or as generic as you like? Anybody? Eric, go ahead.
Look, why is Ethereum going so much faster or higher than all the others? Is there a reason?
But there has been a lot of rumor about the latest upgrade, Ethereum upgrade. But to be honest with you, I mean, when you look at charts, it's just like he had gone down a lot faster than anything else as well. So just I see these things often like an elastic that snaps back into place. So he was like overextended one way, now it's going the other way. As simple as that.
Thank you.
I don't think the individual, just the upgrade that they had, I don't think it was that earth-shattering to justify kind of like a 15-20% daily increase in price.
Luca, quick question on the trade deals. If there's likely to be more announcements, what do you think is the likely impact on cryptos from here on?
That's difficult. It's difficult to say. So if there are more trade deals that are announced, that will reduce friction, which is always a plus for business. Okay, because that means that business can carry on doing business pretty much as they always have done. And crypto can then will benefit for the general good feeling about investing. Okay, so there are less obstacles to investing, and that would reflect positively in crypto. But in a way, I personally see the crypto will do well either way, because it's a way of going above and beyond the obstacles. Okay, so in a way
does that change the liquidity in the market, and is that likely to be the source of maybe the uplift on cryptos as well as stock market?
I personally see like there's quite a few people that kind of fed up with the all the obstacles to business that they see, and kind of like we're talking about also kind of the US imposing certain conditions to certain countries, and now they're just like bypassing it. And the point is that once you moved and you're thinking, okay, look, this crypto stuff actually works quite well, they're not going to go back to the status quo. And that's the thing that I'm seeing. Like we see, there are always already examples of Russia and India exchanging, doing deals with about oil with settled in Bitcoin. So and that can only be positive for crypto in general, because the whole point of doing it is that it's you can't stop it. So that could be, I think, more than the worry. Funny enough, there's been all this talk about the BRIC currency. I think there could be a de facto using of Bitcoin as a settlement that can replace a lot of the system that I use today. In a way that the financial system already starting to use that. Many banks offer blockchain settlements rather than SWIFT, for example, because they're so much faster, so much quicker, and so much cheaper as well. So the more progressive of the banking sector are already doing that. This is why XRP has done so well lately, because that's the thing that they've invested in, for example. So yeah, I mean that's it. I think that the move that we're starting to see in crypto is in a way independent by what else is happening, because I think more and more company businesses and even nation states are realizing that they can do with this thing that they couldn't do in any other way.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, you're welcome.
And is the event you mentioned in London is the Avalanche event, is it?
Sorry?
The event you mentioned in London on 20th, is that the Avalanche event?
Yeah, the Avalanche Summit. I think I remember. I'm not
right.
sure if it's the 20th, but I remember seeing it. I see Avalanche Summit. Join us at the Avalanche Summit London. Yeah, May 20 to the 22nd.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
In Atfield.
Okay.
Okay, so probably I'm going to pop along. See, let's have a look how much the tickets are. I haven't had time to look at that yet. Is £100 for early bird general admission at the moment. Okay, and last minute it becomes to £200, but students can go free. I'm like an older student.
Register. Better go and register on a training course.
Yeah. I can get my son's student card and just present. I can pass like him. Yeah, no, that's good. It's good that it's good that we are in London and we can take advantage of these events. I mean, I've never been to an Avalanche Summit, but I'll be quite curious to see. Okay, and the question we had was from Declan: if Bitcoin takes off, how might that affect gold? I mean, in the short term, it shouldn't really. So Bitcoin is seen as an alternative to gold. I mean, gold is not used in the way that Bitcoin will be used anyway, because it cannot be used for like it was used until decades ago, like to settle international trade. But going forward, Bitcoin could potentially at least replace part of the gold market cap because it's this ease of acquiring and keeping and exchanging. So I think in the long run, eventually the market cap of Bitcoin will be much larger than the market cap of gold. Even when you think about the fact that now the inflation in Bitcoin is lower than inflation of gold, which is interesting, because that means that long term, there is less devaluation so when I say inflation of gold, it's simply that the new gold is escalated and comes onto the market. And for Bitcoin, and the new Bitcoins that are created every day. Okay, so that total now it's smaller for Bitcoin than it is for gold since the last halving last year, and that then in the future will become even smaller. While there is some with gold, we still don't know if there is any particular finding that would increase the amount of gold in circulation dramatically. What about, if we can harvest some of the space objects that are floating around, they're reaching precious metals, it could all of a sudden flood the market with a lot of gold. So it's more like an unknown, where the Bitcoin is more of a certainty because it's determined already by rules. So long term, I can see Bitcoin becoming a lot more valuable than gold in the long term. But the gold is also used in production, so it's not like an industrial use as well that Bitcoin doesn't have. So it's not that the gold will lose value. I can see that it is going to carry on having its use, especially in certain parts of the world, like the Middle East, for example, as a safe asset during uncertain times, like have been recently. But I don't see gold generally speaking, as an investment asset that you buy for, to make money. It's more like a safety asset. Then, if you just think about it, if you have a lot of gold, I would start thinking, okay, at which point would be a good point to sell some, because things are turning, because certain time you cannot grow forever at this rate at 30% a year. So at a certain stage you will stop and turn around, and then maybe do nothing for another 10 years, like he has done in the past. So it's a hedge. Gold is a hedge, and will carry on being a hedge as well in the future. But in terms of like long-term prospects compared to Bitcoin, I think that Bitcoin has the better prospects. Okay. Any other question, guys? If we don't, I'm gonna bring Jonathan in to ask him for a little bit of the drama that we've seen in Cardano. Come on, Jonathan, refresh us. What about the budget? What about the budget? What about stealing money?
It's never-ending flow of drama. It's just real governance in action. It's being born, and it's brutal.
The big question is, will Charles Hoskinson and his company still be involved to develop Cardano or not?
Oh, I can almost guarantee it. Like, I looking throughout the space and everyone I've spoken to, nobody says that IO has done a bad job, apart from a very small minority with a very loud voice, and they are, they're known fanatics, or just attention seekers. So yeah, I think anybody rationally looks at things, what they've built so far, and what they're still planning to do on their roadmap is so much so needed. It's been so beneficial that it'd be crazy to try and write them out of it, especially in comparison to the other founding entities, Cardano Foundation and Emergo. They've just done the most. So yeah, I think they're in safe seats. But Emergo, not so much. Cardano Foundation certainly has ruffled a lot of feathers. And in terms of governance, it's Cardano Foundation and Emergo who have used their Genesis ADA, so the ADA they were granted at the beginning of the blockchain, to actually vote in governance. Whereas IO has said, no, we're going to take our heavy ADA foot off the scale. We're not going to involve in governance, and we won't use our own ADA to vote for our own proposals. Whereas Cardano Foundation and Emergo both are. So yeah, it's a public perception thing that's very much going on now, and whether that overrules Tencent. Obviously, it's exciting. I don't know if you saw a post last night from Charles, where he was going over the yes, the no, the willy, the won'ty with him and Trump getting together.
See, I haven't had time to listen to, because I know they put this thing about half an hour. I haven't had time to listen to it yet. So it's on my list of things to do today.
Yeah, it's good. It's well worth a listen. It was my bedtime listening last night. Yeah, basically lots of internal drama against Cardano again. It looks like someone's trying to keep us out of the executive branch of government in the US. So, but not from Trump, and so some of the advisors in there are being moved aside. So we'll see where it goes from now. But yeah, it's looking positive still, which is great.
Yeah, no, the funny thing, I mean, from the outside is seeing that, Cardano is seen like, and I think Charles Hoskinson, which is, by the way, guys, if you haven't listened to him talking, is one of the most interesting people to listen to, in general, about a lot of different things, not just crypto. But it's that Cardano is being kind of like the tortoise instead of the hare. So I've done things really, really slowly, but they've done it properly. And now that is, in the end, starting to pay off, as all the others are falling by the wayside, because they, technology stack is not up to scratch, really. Cardano is then for, well, we got everything here. So what the others can't do anymore, we got it here. And they've done what, in a way, slowly with the new things, with Hydra, with layers, they're taking the wind out of the sails of blockchains like Solana, like Avalanche, like Polkadot, because Cardano will be able to do even the same things but better, in a way. Yeah, I don't know if you just want to explain very quickly what layers will be, which is what the next thing that the Charles Hoskinson company is working on right now. What we'll be able to do for Cardano.
Yeah, so there's a trilemma within blockchain. How do you make things secure and scalable? And this third leg of scalability is what Cardano's sort of working on now. The layer one blockchain is coping with all the traffic it's had at the moment, and certainly has got room for some growth. But beyond that, if we're going to become the financial operating system for the world, where we're replacing, the credit card settlement layers and things like that, and we need to get more scalability. And so Leos is that drive, that final push towards really high performance on that layer one. So not using layer twos, which we've got great solutions for already, like Midgard and skip my mind, the primary one that IO came out with. We've actually got now a roadmap for the layer one, which will actually bring scalability to that. And that's with Leos. And at the moment, we have a block like on the chain itself, you have blocks that match together end to end. And every time you add something to the blockchain, You just add a whole load more transactions into a block, and it pegs onto the end of the blockchain, and so it grows forever. And each of the blocks in Cardano is produced every 20 seconds. In comparison, in Bitcoin, it's every 10 minutes. So it's slow, steady growth, but at a recent pace. The idea with Leos is now in between each of those big blocks, we have lots of small blocks, and each of those are validated against a big block. And so you have the opportunity then to mint 100 more blocks within that 20-second period, which means that you can record transactions into the blockchain a whole lot faster, and it just means that you've suddenly then got a whole load more capacity for storing transactions and validating them, with all the same security as you've got with your 20-second blocks, and all staying within that same layer one of the blockchain itself, which is a huge development, huge growth, and lots more opportunity then for apps to be using it, but also for the operators, for the stake pool operators to get more regular blocks. So it'll mean that at the moment we've got about 2,500, 3,000 operators on the blockchain who are minting these blocks, and that number then can actually, and we're designed to only have 500 at the moment in terms of the way the parameters are set, but we could actually start to see a fairer use case and make those stake pool operators, small stake pool operators, viable at 2,500, 3,000 of them. So everybody's looking forward to Leos. Yeah.
So that will bring then a speed that's comparable to what Solana has, but with the differences that, as we said before, the Solana blockchain is so large that if you want to run a node in Solana, it will cost you in simply hardware. I don't know if we're going into the millions yet, but I think definitely hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it's so large. Where Cardano, you can run a node with I don't know what the minimum cost is, but generally with a few $100, with a Pi, Raspberry Pi, you could buy around, because it's so much smaller. So any laptop really could run a Cardano node, where because it's so large, the Solana is more and more centralized, because there are so few people that can afford the technology stack that's needed to run a huge node. So it's the idea that fine, it's great, but who owns the network at the end of the day? And with Bitcoin, with Cardano, we can say that it's so decentralized. There isn't a single entity that controls everything. You can say that with Solana or with, for example, the Binance Smart Chain, again, which are very highly centralized entities, where a handful of operators control the blockchain. So why are we doing? So we need to go back to the beginning of thinking, why are we getting involved in crypto? Because we're talking about, that we all own the base layer instead of, a third party like the bank, the king, or whatever else. So if that is to be the base of our future, we want to make sure that is correct. And and there are certain blockchains that simply don't have it and don't have a solution for that, right? Cardano already has, and what's going on right now is just this, the big treasury has been accumulated, which has like billions of ADA in there, is the actual membership is deciding how that should be spent, how the budget should be allocated. Just imagine the same thing. Instead of the government deciding how to spend the money collected by taxes, is the actual citizens themselves. They are getting together to make that decision. And it's like really, really life changing in that way. So Jonathan, I just posted a whiteboard video from Charles Hoskinson a long time ago, before even Cardano was created, which will give you an idea. And if you, like I said, most of you already have Jonathan's link, but Jonathan, if you want to put it on before, he runs a Cardano session just after this one is finished, where it's a lot more focused than this one, because it just speaks about Cardano and the way they blockchain, within projects that are moving within Cardano and so on. I would highly recommend that you go and join his session as well. So if you pop it in the chat, Jonathan.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, so that's the Q&A session. I would start in I suppose in a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have a look at the Bitcoin transaction that actually operated, moving a Bitcoin, wrapping it on Bitcoin using zero snarks on Bitcoin, moving it onto the Cardano blockchain and back again, and back to native Bitcoin. So
Yeah, fantastic.
pretty
Jonathan,
exciting.
actually, if you got a couple of slides, we can show them next time. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have time to get into it today, but next time we can. That's one thing that actually I forgot to mention. That really happened during the week. But obviously, being a Cardano-based thing, it hasn't been publicized too much. I'm publicized in Cardano circles, but nobody else really is talking about it. As usual, hush, hush, keep it down, keep it down. But, all right, guys. So I'll need to end this call now. So have a fantastic weekend, and again, we'll be here next week at the same time. Okay, so see you next week, and enjoy the weekend. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
very much,
Everyone,
Luca.
thanks,
Thank
Luca.
you. Have a nice weekend. Bye.